And we want to figure out how to get you the perfect balance of these energies for your body when they become out of balance. I'm Heather Grzych, and this is the Wisdom of the Body podcast. This podcast explores the idea of body intelligence as the real key to learning the knowledge of life, or what we call Ayurveda in the ancient language of Sanskrit. We do that by connecting with today's creative leaders and experts who will help you listen to your body, trust your gut, and live in deeper harmony with nature. Come join me as we unlock the golden door to clear, direct perception and become very deep listeners. You can find the Wisdom of the Body podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also follow us by joining my email at heathergrzych.com or on Instagram at heathergrzych. I know you're going to love this podcast, so take a second right now to subscribe. So today I'm going to address the most common questions that people ask about Ayurveda. I'm going to briefly address all of them because there's a lot of them. I'm going to answer about 10 questions today. I hope you learned something, and if you do, please reach out and let me know. So the first question that people commonly ask is, well, what is Ayurveda? What is it? Ayurveda is this beautiful system of ancient medicine. It originated in India. It's practiced all over the world today in a home practice and also in clinical practice. The Sanskrit word Ayurveda, it actually means the science of life or the knowledge of life. And it seeks to create balance and harmony within your mind, your body, and your spirit. Ayurveda teaches about harmony between the inner and the outer environments, as well as lifestyle practices that will help you maintain your physical, your mental, and your spiritual health. That's basically what Ayurveda is. Was that what you thought it was? Well, how does Ayurveda work? This is question number 2. Your body is always regenerating. And so because it's always regenerating, what you do today is going to impact the regeneration of your tissues days and weeks from now. So the future of your body is being designed right now with every choice you make. And if you had a plant in your house and you noticed that that plant was wilting or rotting and you were noticing these signs of imbalance in this plant, then you would need to figure out why it's happening. You would give it more or less sun or wind, or you'd move it to a different spot of the house that's got maybe more or less drafty. You might give it more or less water. You might try it in a different soil or a bigger pot. You might give it more or less nutrients. There's all different things that you could try to see if you could get that plant to be healthier. And so that's basically what you do with yourself in Ayurveda. And if your body is out of balance, then healing both your mind, because your mind affects your body, and then your body affects your mind. They both affect each other. So like if you've been sick in your body, then it's going to change the types of thoughts that you have. If you have certain types of thoughts occurring, it's going to change your emotional responses, and that's going to change your physiology, and that's going to change your body. We don't necessarily have like really good ways to articulate how that happens, but they do happen. And so you want to affect your body to affect both the body and the mind. And then in doing that, that heals them both, and that allows your true spirit to shine through. So Ayurveda draws on herbal remedies. It draws on yoga, meditation, lifestyle changes, all things that you can do at home in your day-to-day life. You know, at home, someone practicing Ayurvedic self-care might be drinking herbs or changing their diet to one that's more appropriate for their body type, or oiling their body because they have anxiety, oiling their body before they take a shower, you know, which also hydrates the body and creates a sense of groundedness and calming feeling. So all these things we want to promote, like calm and clarity. So you can do a lot of them at home, but clinically practiced, Ayurvedic practitioners can do some unique body therapies involving the applications of oils or powders, steam, other, substances to the body to create a specific effect. Ayurvedic treatments, they often involve some sort of thing you might consider massage or a special diet or herbal medicines that are tailored to your specific body and your specific needs. In India, there are actually like Ayurvedic hospitals. There are Ayurvedic hospitals and wellness centers where people go for on-site cleansing and rejuvenation. And those therapies that they undergo, they can last for days or weeks. And some people do this on site in the United States, not as many as are being done in India. And some Ayurvedic practitioners like myself, we will guide people on how to do these cleanses at home. So we're really big into cleansing in Ayurveda. So we're really into it. And there's also this Ayurvedic treatment called Panchakarma, which is the most thorough system of cleansing in the world. And I have very good friends that have owned, juice cleanse companies. There's lots of products out there that claim to do cleansing. But in Ayurveda, there is a whole science around cleansing. And when we do this one type of therapy called Panchakarma, it's a very big commitment to healing. And it's appropriate only for some people to do. It's actually not appropriate for everyone. But in general, Ayurvedic treatment aims to restore the balance between the body's 3 doshas. Okay. And we're also trying to balance the Agni of the body, which is the metabolic fire of the body that helps you digest and assimilate the food that's taken into your body. The word dosha, if that's a new term for you, the word dosha, and maybe if this is not a new term for you, because this particular word has gotten kind of twisted a little bit in sort of wellness pop culture, but the word dosha actually means that which can go out of balance. And so your body has these 3 types of doshas that shift and change according to the seasons, your behaviors, your food, different types of food that you eat, how it's prepared, the life stage that you're in, and also because of environmental factors. And there are 3 doshas, and they represent a psychobiological energy. Okay. So Vata dosha is the movement of air and the opening of spaces in your body. You might know it through gas or fear or joy, mania. You might know it through anxiety. You can feel an energy moving through you. You can feel doshas. When Vata is in balance, you basically have the right amount of energy and space in all your channels of your body, and you're going to feel really good. But when it's too high, for example, you're going to have disruption. And when you have disruption, it leads to erosion. It leads to degeneration of tissues, chaos, dispersion. When Vata is too high, we have to rein things in to ground them, to properly nourish, to create stability, consistency, and get more support. That's just one of the doshas, Vata. So you know it as air, like bloating, that's the Vata. It's trapped in your body. It's not being released. Or if you're very gassy, it's coming through. Or if you have, a lot of anxiety or tremors, that's a lot of energy moving through you. That's Vata. So Pitta dosha is like this hot lava of the body, which transforms matter from one form into another. So it's like this conversion property of your body. There are constantly conversions and transformations taking place within you. When your pitta is in balance, your processes are happening effectively. When pitta is too high, things can feel intense. You can feel like inflammation or redness, because the word pitta actually means that which cooks. And so you have this transformation property of your body, but if you get too much of it, you literally end up cooking yourself. And that's when you see like red tissues, sunburn. Some think about like a sunburn. Well, why would your skin be red when you aren't getting a sunburn? Because there's too much fire element there coming from somewhere else. So that's the second dosha. The first dosha is Vata, the second dosha is Pitta, and the third dosha is Kapha. And it's important to understand these because they're really at the foundation of what we do in Ayurveda, understanding these doshas. Kapha dosha is the third dosha, and that is the water and the earth elements of the body. So you might have this like mucus in your body and you want to have some mucus in your body because it has a protective capability. That's what its, job is, lubrication. But too much water will dilute your potency. Too much earth element will make you feel heavy or blocked or unable to move, basically. And we don't want that. We want enough groundedness. We want everything to be flowing. We want the right levels of water and earth. We want everything in balance. And so these doshas are changing all the time in response to like what you eat and all of that, what you do, the weather, your life stage, who you hang around with, so many things. They're always changing. And we want to figure out how to get you the perfect balance of these energies for your body when they become out of balance. Okay, so that was the second question that we just answered, which is how does Ayurveda work? And obviously, there's a lot more to that. So that's why this is just a brief explanation. The third question that I'm going to cover today is what are the benefits of Ayurveda? Ayurveda's goal is to help you develop properly formed tissues in your body. Ayurveda is wanting you to have a balanced metabolic fire, a mind, a spirit, and the senses that are in harmony with each other so that you can rest in your truest essence, where flow, where clarity, and where your purpose will prevail. Ayurveda will eliminate held energy or emotions that are held or toxins that are held and poor digestion, hampered vitality. It'll improve these things so that you can have a body and a mind that is pure, that is connected, and that is resting in its own true nature. Traditionally, in India, Ayurveda was used to treat the full scope of medical conditions that humans experienced at the time. So there are many benefits. Today, Ayurveda is used to promote longevity, to prevent disease, to rebalance issues that, if left unchecked, they could actually turn into disease. And it's also used by many to treat fertility issues, conditions such as chronic fatigue, digestive issues, respiratory illnesses, skin conditions, memory and mood problems, and many stress-related disorders. It's also used to rejuvenate a woman in the postpartum period. There's whole protocols that we follow for that. And it is used in a complementary manner to rejuvenate individuals going through intense medical treatments from some medical condition. And we know that many of the conventional medicines that are used are very hard on a body. And after people go through those treatments, they oftentimes need other treatments to help them recover from them. So it works by helping restore the body's natural balance, and the benefits are felt in the mind and the body and in the spirit. So the benefits are felt in the whole being. That leads me to my fourth question here, which is, so if there are these benefits in Ayurveda, is it also safe? Okay. And this is a really good question. So is Ayurveda safe? Is a very good question because every tool can be used to help or to harm. So I would say that the different Ayurvedic treatments and therapies are safe when they are applied in the right circumstance. Okay. And this is why it's important for you to work with a skilled Ayurvedic practitioner, because there are lots of things in Ayurvedic principles and practice that would generally be considered safe for most people. Maybe an idea like living in line with the seasons, living in line with the circadian rhythm, getting the right amount of sleep, eating the right food for your mind-body type, not getting too much sun, staying hydrated. These are basic ideas that are rooted in Ayurvedic practice. However, not all Ayurvedic therapies are good for everyone. Okay. And here's an example. So we may recommend herbs for cleansing, for example, and someone who isn't pregnant, we recommend this to somebody who isn't pregnant. And that is appropriate for that person who isn't pregnant to be doing a cleanse, right? But if you were to take those same herbs and give it to somebody who is pregnant, then that might have a risk for that pregnancy, for that mother or for that baby. You don't give the same herbs to someone who's not pregnant, someone who is pregnant. There are some exceptions to that. When you mix herbs with other herbs, they do different things. But the point being is that you have to know the context in which this is being given. So in the same way that it makes no sense to give a cancer drug to a person who doesn't have cancer, or a diabetes drug to a person who doesn't have diabetes, you don't give an Ayurvedic medicine or treatment to strengthen someone's digestion to someone who already has very strong digestion. Make sense? So whether Ayurveda is safe, it's really relative, okay, to the situation. Some of the Ayurvedic herbs that are imported from India and Sri Lanka and other countries have actually been found to contain high levels of heavy metals, like lead, for example. And that is disconcerting. So I want to put that out there. Some countries and companies do not have high standards for testing their products. So when you're importing from other countries, you should do everything you can to learn whether that product is safe to ingest, learn about what kind of testing they do, how often they do it. There's a class of Ayurvedic herbal preparations that are called Rasa Shastra. So this whole practice of using Rasa Shastra medicines, which it's claimed that certain substances that are generally considered harmful for humans are processed in a way in which it makes them not harmful. Okay, that's kind of the idea behind this particular branch of herbal medicine from the Ayurvedic lineages in India. I will say that I don't think the studies are really good enough on this, on whether or not they are safe. And as far as I'm aware of, in the scope of practice for an Ayurvedic practitioner in the United States, we do not have any of those herbal formulations on our list of approved herbs to utilize. And I certainly don't use them because I'm being rather safe in my practice. And so some of the herbs, though, you have in your kitchen. They're kitchen spices that you probably already have. There's a very wide array of medicines that are going to be delivered orally or topically or delivered in certain carriers like a tea or a skin oil or a scent that you breathe in. And so some of the things that you're very familiar with, maybe cinnamon or turmeric or coriander, these are examples of things you might have in your kitchen. But some of the herbs are ones that, while they're available to everyone and they're legal to consume, they may be a little bit more foreign to you. You may not have heard of them before. And there's a lot of formulations that exist out there. So I think that it's really important to know where your herbs are coming from when you're going to use them and to really check around on that. So I'll be honest, I'm very cautious about the herbal formulas that I use. I only order through certain companies that I trust, and I know that they're doing rigorous testing. So my fifth question that we're going to answer today is, how do I learn more about Ayurveda? Okay. So first, I just want to say I hope you're learning a lot about Ayurveda from me today. And there's so much information available about Ayurveda now compared to when I was studying it 10 years ago. There are a lot of wellness influencers teaching about different Ayurvedic self-care practices now, some of them that maybe just read about something or took a weekend crash course in it or something. Many of them have received very minimal training in Ayurveda. That's probably the easiest way to learn more about Ayurveda. But if you're serious about it and you really, really, really want to understand Ayurveda, then I would read a book. I wrote a book called The Ayurvedic Guide to Fertility, which I wrote for people who are interested in their fertility who maybe weren't familiar with Ayurveda. I think it's a good beginner Ayurveda book for people. But I would also recommend any of Dr. Vasant Lad's books or Dr. John Douillard's books. These are really great introductory reading books on Ayurveda, and some of the first ones that I read when I was studying before I, started reading lots of textbooks and stuff. There are also many places that you can take a course in Ayurveda. So there are, general self-care focused courses all the way to becoming a clinical Ayurvedic practitioner. And, like I got a master's degree in Ayurveda and I went to school for like 3.5 years to do that. And that was after, I have an undergraduate in psychology. So you can go as deeply as you want with it, though if you want to go the deepest, you'd have to go to India to study. The most rigorous trainings are found in India or Nepal or in Sri Lanka, where the medicine is practiced more widely. So it really depends on how deep you want to go with it. But I would say that there's no better way to learn about Ayurveda than to do a consultation with an Ayurvedic practitioner who is board certified in the United States. And that's so that you can learn all about your unique mind-body type, how to treat your body seasonally, how to establish cleansing and rejuvenation practices that are appropriate for your life stage. And if you are interested in that, you can book a consultation with me on my website at heathergrzych.com. And you may have someone practicing locally in your region if you want to see someone in person, because I'm offering consultations virtually still. So if you're located in the United States and you want to look for somebody local who lives near you, then you can check the National Ayurvedic Medical Association professional member directory, and there'll be like a state-specific list where you can search. See if there's someone near you, or you can book a consultation with me. So the sixth question that I'm going to answer today is, what are the different types of Ayurvedic medicine? Because it's kind of like this broad term, Ayurvedic medicine. It could be a lot of different things. And it is a lot of different things. It's kind of confusing to people because it's so many different things. Ayurveda uses food as medicine. It uses herbs as medicine, and it uses lifestyle and behavioral changes as medicine. We use body therapies, yoga, exercise, meditation, circadian and seasonal alignment as medicine. One of the therapies I enjoy using in my practice is fasting, or it's referred to as a lightening practice, where you lighten the body, and that's referred to as langana. So it reduces the density and the heaviness of the body. It has lots of different effects, but that's one of the examples of practices that I use in my practice a lot. And there's many different kinds of herbal medicine. So if you're thinking about what are the types of Ayurvedic medicine, there are different types of lifestyle and behavioral changes that you might end up exploring. There are many different kinds of herbs that we use, and some of the herbs are for digestion, some of them are to balance one of those doshas that I mentioned earlier, and some are to increase the blood flow in a certain area. Or maybe you want to sweat more. You take an herb that makes you sweat more. Maybe you take an herb that makes you sweat less. Some of the herbs help with memory. Some of them will help with respiratory issues, immune strength, maybe even fertility. There's a lot of herbs for all these things. There's so many herbs. And some you might be familiar with already. So I'll just name off a couple of them. You might be familiar with ashwagandha, or maybe you're familiar with amalaki or triphala, which is a very common herbal formulation made up of 3 different herbs, single herbs that are combined together in a formulation. And you may be familiar with Brahmi, so Brahmi Bacopa, or possibly even Brahmi Centella. Different Brahmi herbs, you might be familiar with the Shankapushpi. So Brahmi and Shankapushpi are herbs that are often used for the mind, or Jatamamsi, which is often used for mental disturbances. We use licorice in Ayurveda. We use turmeric, you probably are familiar with. We use herbs that will affect that can even affect hormonal balance, like ashwagandha and shatavari, neem, which is really great for inflammation. So there's so many Ayurvedic herbs. These are just a couple of them. While we're on the topic of different types of Ayurvedic medicines, since body therapies are also in scope in Ayurvedic practice, there are certain ones that are categorized under different types of body therapies. So certain body therapies that are lightening, like I mentioned before, these langana therapies, certain therapies that have a brahmana effect or a building type of effect, and others that are done for snehana, which is oiling therapies, swedana, which are sweating therapies, and rukshana, which is roughening therapy. You might think of something like dry brushing. And then last but not least, stambhana therapies, which are stopping. So they stop flow. And there are circumstances in which you would use each of these, and you'd want to know when is the appropriate time to use one of those types of therapies. And that's what we study and help people with in Ayurveda. The 7th question that I'm going to answer today is, are there any Ayurvedic treatments for specific diseases? And One of the most common things that's Googled is, how does Ayurveda treat this? How does Ayurveda treat that? And yes, there are certain herbal medicines and also certain cleansing and rejuvenation procedures for specific disease process states. However, Ayurveda is not a one-size-fits-all approach. There's not like this cure for this disease because it's multidimensional. All the treatments are multidimensional and they're highly personalized to the individual's body constitutional type. And also what doshas are imbalanced in that person, what climate a person is in, what life stage they're in, did they have any previous injuries or health conditions, and the strength of that person. So there's a lot of considerations when we are treating a condition in Ayurveda. And I know all of medicine is trying to get at personalized medicine. And most people will tell you that Ayurveda has done that the best of any form of medicine, simply because of these things called doshas and the understanding that your treatment must be tailored to your unique situation, which I'll get into a little bit more what that is with the next question. But, a person who's experiencing weak digestion with a pitta imbalance, so too much fire in their body, would be treated very differently than a person who's experiencing weak digestion with a vata imbalance or too much air in their body. Different guidelines must be followed. So again, why working with a skilled Ayurvedic practitioner is important when you're trying to heal an imbalance. So the next question is there an Ayurvedic diet that I should follow? And yes, the answer is yes. And you should learn what your mind body type is and then follow the appropriate diet for that. So I think that a lot of people are looking for this list of things, like, I want the 10 things I have to concentrate on for my wellness, and I can just do that every day and I'll be fine. Just memorize that and I'll be done. I want to follow this diet. They want keto, they want paleo, they want some sort of guidelines that they can follow that they think will help them be healthy. And that's what a lot of these diets do, like FODMAP and, all those diets, but they don't necessarily take into account your state of imbalance in your body. So specifically, you need to learn what your prakriti is, which is your nature, or it's a comprehensive description of your body type, your physiology, and your psychological disposition. And when you're in balance, that's what your prakriti is, okay? So when you're in balance, it's like your essence, your true nature, knowing that, and then knowing what your vikruti is. So your vikruti is changing all the time in response to the seasons, your behaviors, things in your environment, emotional responses, relationships, and the life stage that you're in. The expression of doshas that I mentioned earlier and their levels, those dosha levels are going to change as your vikruti changes, and your vikruti is going to change as your environment and your choices and everything that's kind of coming at you and you're being exposed to in this body is shifting as well. So you have to learn prakriti and vikruti to understand your nature, your body, and how to rebalance it. What are the right strategies to personalize your care? In addition, you want to learn what kind of Agni you have. So Agni is the digestive fire. Agni was like the fire god in the ancient Vedic literature. And so they turned that in India into this concept of your digestive fire. They called it the fire god. Okay. So if you have weak Agni, so a lot of people think I have to eat a whole grain, raw food salad diet, right? Because this is quote unquote what's healthy. But if you have weak Agni and then you're eating something that you heard was healthy, that you think is healthy, but actually requires a lot of Agni to be able to process it, you're not going to digest it well and your health is going to suffer. But if you have weak Agni and then you eat foods that are more easily digestible, things that are cooked, soups, stews, oatmeal, things like that, they require less Agni to break them down, smaller meals, etc. They require less Agni to break them down, and they'll promote stronger digestion and assimilation. So as you can see, there's no one Ayurvedic diet to follow. that's kind of one of the confusing things about Ayurveda is people say, I'm following an Ayurvedic diet, but that Ayurvedic diet has been personalized and tailored to that person. It's been, well thought out for that particular person. So it's not like there's an Ayurvedic diet that you can follow and I can follow, and it's the same diet for both of us. That's not what we do. So Ayurveda requires you to learn something about yourself rather than look for the magic pill. When you work with an Ayurvedic practitioner to understand your unique body type, you can make personalized health choices that are in line with what you actually need. Okay. One of the other questions, so question number 9 is, does Ayurveda have any side effects? Okay. I've heard a lot of people say that Ayurveda doesn't have any side effects. And it's a nice idea. I would say that is true when it is applied correctly, in the right time, with the right person, and with the right material, whether that's the right food or the right herb or the right body treatment, okay? Any medicine, anyone, will have side effects if it is used in the wrong circumstance. Any. Herbal medicines are often less potent than synthesized medicines, okay? And that's one reason, pharmaceuticals, that's one reason that they're not regulated the same way as pharmaceuticals, and that everybody has access to purchase herbal medicines to try them. You can grow them at home even, with some exceptions. And I would assume that the US government generally thinks that they're generally safe, right? And they can be regulated at the federal level and the state level, as we see with things like marijuana, although we don't generally use marijuana in Ayurveda. Some people do, but generally it's not commonly used. However, if you take too much garlic, which is an herbal substance or vegetable substance that is used medicinally, you are going to get heartburn if you take too much garlic, okay? You're going to feel really hot, And if you take an herb that acts as a diuretic, like gokshura, for example, or, punarnava, certain herbs, if you take them and they act as a diuretic and they make you pee more, then that's going to make you excrete a lot of liquid from your body. And then you may need to hydrate. Certain people will need to hydrate more than others. And if you don't hydrate more, then you will get other side effects. But okay, are they the side effects of the herb or from not knowing the right context in which to use the herb, right? And not following the proper procedure. So if you don't know what something's going to do to you and you take it, you could get side effects. Okay, so I just want to say that because a lot of people will say, oh, Ayurveda is totally safe, but you can get some discomfort from Ayurveda. You need to know the right context of when to use the therapy. So I will say that is generally there aren't side effects when they're used correctly at the right time, with the right person and with the right material. And this is going to lead me to my last question here, question number 10. Does insurance cover Ayurvedic treatments and medicines? And I love this question because through the years, I've done a lot of work in the health insurance industry. I don't know if you know that about me. That was actually my main field before I studied Ayurveda in my mid-30s and changed my career and wrote a book and all that stuff. So I'm sorry to say that Ayurveda is not covered by insurance in the United States. And that's really sad because there is a great need for it in the healthcare system. We spend more money on healthcare in the United States in the insurance system, but we get worse results than other countries that spend what we spend. Okay, there's research on this. And we're also facing a physician shortage in the coming years. Okay, so our healthcare system needs more help, and they're going to need more help in the United States in the coming years. And I would love for Ayurveda to become more widely utilized. And if you do too, please reach out and let me know what you think we can do, because we definitely have a lot of ways that we need to move this through the healthcare system. So I hope you've enjoyed this rundown on the top 10 questions that people ask about Ayurveda. Don't forget to reach out if you have more questions about Ayurveda. Ayurveda is formerly something that was only available to royal families in India, and now it's available to you So for your health and well-being, and it's so magical. And I would love to help you feel your best, to improve your longevity, your fertility, and your entire being in mind and body and spirit. Ayurveda is good for you, and it is good for the planet because it is, I believe, the most environmentally friendly form of medicine out there, and maybe that's debatable when things are being shipped from India, different herbs and stuff. But considering that we're using, things in your kitchen and the values that it promotes, it is the most sustainable form of medicine on the planet, I believe. And it really is an incredible way to listen to the wisdom of the body again. If you are embarking on a fertility journey and are ready to have your mind blown about what your body is really capable of and how it's impacted by the environment, then check out my book, The Ayurvedic Guide to Fertility. You can actually download the introduction to the book for free on my website at heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. Read the intro for free and then buy the rest of this fertility enlightening book pretty much anywhere books are sold. I want to thank you for listening to this show. It brings me great pleasure to provide this content to you. I also want to let you know that I'll be making some very amazing announcements soon. And if you're not already on my email list, then I encourage you to go over to my website and subscribe to my email list so that I can keep you informed about these announcements that are going to be coming up very soon. So my website is heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. And I look forward to getting these important announcements to you very soon and connecting. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. To learn more about my work, visit heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, Grzych.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.